the Instagram feed. Hey, everybody, it's Tiffany. Welcome. I have my friend and special guest, Jess Janda, with us today. So we're airing this podcast episode live so that people have an opportunity to ask some questions and be here with us. And awesome. It looks like we're also able to stream on Instagram today. So whether you're joining us on Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, you should be able to put a comment in the chat wherever you're watching, and I'll be able to ask Jess. So we have been so excited for this episode because there's just a lot of energy and momentum with Jess and I, the work that we've been doing together behind the scenes. Jess and I met over 20 years ago, which is amazing, to have the kind of friends that you can come in and out of your life and watch their progress over different seasons. This episode today, guys, is about money, Mercury, and your nervous system. And we're talking about it in the context of the spring equinox too. So when the sun moves into Aries, which is happening here on March 19th. So as you're kind of preparing for this reset for your physical health, your mental health, one of the things, and your spiritual health, right? One of the things that we often overlook is your financial health. And so Jess and I connected because she has been doing these awesome intentional wealth building workshops. She has a free one coming up on Monday, so we'll make sure that you have the link for that. We'll talk about it. But that's how we recently connected. And I think that, in addition to doing your personal and physical and spiritual resets this time of year, it's also an excellent time to do kind of a financial reset. And in our discussion around your finances, Mercury, your nervous system, this is really what we're going to talk about today. So today's episode, I'm going to ask Jess to share her story and her why behind intentional wealth building. She's going to teach us a little bit about your money and your nervous system. There is a biochemical impact on you when you have financial stress. And she sent out a newsletter the other day that she was like, it just started with, how often do you worry about money? And I thought, gosh, before that class, a lot. After that class, no worries. I'm not worried at all because I have clarity. I have a plan that comes from a regulated place, not a dysregulated place. Another thing we're going to talk about is my experience in Jess's class. She's going to give us a nervous system rebalancing protocol that I've been using for a month now. That's awesome. I'm going to share about Mercury and the metaphysical anatomy of your nervous system. And some of you guys posted questions in the Facebook group. So that's a lot of ground to cover. So I just want to reiterate that Jess and I met over 20 years ago through a mutual friend. Some of the things that I love about you, Jess, is that you're willing to really walk your talk, that you really embody the principles that you teach. Jess graduated from Carnegie Mellon. She used to write code for Charles Schwab. She's one of the smartest people, if not the smartest woman I know. And she's a Virgo, which is one of my favorites. She is a surfer. And one of the things that I love about you is that you promote a work optional lifestyle. And once that really sinks in for you, everybody listening or watching, a work optional lifestyle, what would you do? How would that change the way that you work and what you're pouring your passions into and how you want to, change the world, uplift the planet, all of these things. We also have a lot of other things in common, whether it's dog rescue or eating healthy or all of these like wellness activities. When I was taking Jess's class, before I took Jess's class, I just said, I don't want you to tell me to save on food because I'm going to spend a lot of money on organic food. And she was like, me too. Don't worry. You don't have to cut out your healthy food to build intentional wealth. So that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode. And I have a few little housekeeping pieces that I'm going to be dropping in the chat because I want to make sure that you have the links for Jess's next workshop and my next workshops. But in the name of time, I would love, Jess, just to welcome you and to say thank you and to see if you'll share your story.
Oh my goodness. I am so excited to be here with you. I love that we have come back together and, our paths have crossed on so many different levels over the last 20 years. And it has been like a a deep honor to witness you, Tiffany, and all that you have accomplished and all your evolutions in this life form. It's been so fun. And what I love about you is just your free spirited passion and the gifts that you bring as part of that with your astrology and your beekeeping and your passion for nature and the plant and animals. And I just, yeah. So this was kind of this wealth building piece was this last component in your, you know, entrepreneurship puzzle, if you will. And so it's been such a deep honor to walk with you on that journey. And I'm super excited to be with you all here today. This is my favorite topic, and I love to mesh mental wellness, mental health with money and how that impacts your nervous system. And all three impact each other, right? When you're worried about money, that impacts your mental health. When your mental health is crap, you worry about it. It's just this cycle. And so what can we do to get in front of that? And so I'm really excited to jump into that today. And hopefully you leave here with some actionable things that you can do to up level your mental well-being, your financial well-being, and kind of be able to recognize how your nervous system plays a role in both of those things. So I'll just share a little bit about me. I won't take too long in this because surely all of you have quite the journey as well. But I grew up in Hawaii. I'm super passionate about the environment. I wanted to join the Peace Corps and save the whales. That's what I really wanted to do. But somehow I got talked into going to Carnegie Mellon University and getting degrees in information technology and industrial management. And I got dropped into corporate America. And I just remember thinking, oh my goodness, is this it till I retire at some arbitrary retirement age if I live that long, right? It was like, is this it? Until I was 65. And I actually spent a long time in corporate America because I was trying to figure out what that next step should be. And maybe some of you can relate, right? It's like, oh, if I just get that degree or I just get that promotion, if I just keep on the hedonic treadmill, at some point I'll be happy, right? And I got to the point where, I was actually designing trading systems for Wall Street. I worked with both active day traders and then passive investment management firms. So I've seen the whole spectrum. So I was, immersed in the fintech, financial technology world, if you will, back when it was just starting. And when 2008 and the market crash happened, I kind of had an awakening where I was like, ooh, I knew people that had lost their homes. I knew people that, lost their life savings for retirement and those sorts of things. And I thought, gosh, is there something else I should be doing in the world? This doesn't seem too fulfilling. And I got really disenchanted with that industry. I actually, I left it in the height of the recession, decided to jump into wellness, health and wellness entrepreneurship. And, I did that because not only was I unfulfilled, and maybe some of you can relate to that, but it was also affecting my health, right? I was, I couldn't remember anything. I couldn't think straight. I couldn't sleep at night. I was having anxiety. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just for my job. I'd come home, I'd want to check out. And so it was just this vicious cycle. And so when I decided to quit, it was very liberating. And like I said, I jumped into health and wellness entrepreneurship, and I haven't really looked back. But about 6 years ago, and I've worked with thousands and thousands of people on their health and wellness journey, close to 10,000 people now. And that's been, again, such a deep honor to walk with people on that journey. But there's been, once people get that health component in place, there's often a financial component in place that can even up level the health to take it to the next level. And Tiffany, you said this so perfect at one point, right? It's like you call it financial sobriety. So it's like that next level of, I don't want to say recovery, but like evolution, right? It's like you have this in place, you have that in place. Okay, now it's time to put the systems in place to build wealth. And so I had this background in finance, and then about 6 years ago, I had the opportunity to bring the very first mental wellness company to the world, and that's been, like a deep honor as well. And so over the last 6 years, we've been first to the market in bringing holistic mental wellness solutions that help people increase their happiness through the gut-brain connection. And so this is layered on nicely, with the work that I did before with really taking the physical body and the nutrition to the next level. And then there's this mental health component. So that was 6 years ago. And then COVID hit. And I don't know about y'all, but the finality of life really was a wake-up call for me, and I think probably for everybody listening to this too. And just a lot of things shifted, and I realized, I really want to make sure, like, we're on track to retire in this lifetime and actually live fully in this lifetime. And that's when I kind of had this financial awakening. And I took a look at our finances. I'm like, all right, it's time. We need to get a plan together. This is my background. How come I haven't really been doing this, all along? And so I really dialed it in, and I was like, what would it look like to live a work optional life in the next 5 years, right? I love what I do, but I also love the idea of it being optional. Not to say I'm not going to work, but I want it to be optional. And so we got to work. I just optimized all of our investments, really streamlined everything, got everything dialed in. And in November of last year, we hit our work optional number, which means we have enough investable assets to cover our expenses now indefinitely. And of course, like Tiff was saying, this is without deprivation or cutting out organic food. We actually have a $25,000 a year pad in there for vacations and experiences. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm like building intentional wealth, right? But that also linked back to this evolution of my own health and my nervous system, because I used to spend a lot of time worrying about money. In fact, I would spend more time worrying about money than I would to just educate myself on what it would do to not.
Yeah.
Waking up at night, and then I was like, why don't I just take a look at where we're at and figure out a plan to get where we're going, right? And so, right. But it wasn't until I got my nervous system regulated and really layered that mental wellness, cortisol balancing, gut-brain axis recalibrating onto my health that I was able then to really sit down and hold the place that we were in with our finances, right? So that's a little bit about me. And so now I love to help people merge the two, right? We got to get your nervous system rebalanced. We got to get your cortisol, your hormones rebalanced. We got to get you in a place where you can have the bandwidth, right, to lean in when it comes to your money. So that's the jam.
That's so perfect, Jess. I'm really excited for you to share with everybody watching. I just want to say hi to Marilyn and Susan and Colette and Anne and Nadine, who hopes you had a good time in Pittsburgh. And everybody else watching, let's see, on Instagram, I see Lisa G, Eclectic Lou, Sunny, and looks like Beth Herndon and a bunch of our other friends. Becky Forsyth, awesome to see you. So we're going to shift kind of gears, and we're going to talk about your money and your nervous system. I think this is really the big piece why you guys are really here. And I just can't thank you enough for helping me put those two together, because for a lot of people, when money is the stressor, it affects everything, right? It affects your relationships, it affects your decisions, it affects your mood. If you don't like your job, if you do like your job, or if you don't have enough, or you just really don't know the systems to use, it's not just as simple as spend less, make more. It's really not. There's a lot going on in the nervous system before you can even start to think about money and make a plan. Even if you have a plan, if you're not regulated, it's just not going to work, right? And so money to me is one of the big missing pieces that I see, at least in my clients, where they want to do more, they want to be prepared, but they just don't know how, and they can't figure out how to get out of that paycheck to paycheck, or get into that purpose-filled job, or that work-only lifestyle, or work optional lifestyle. And so I feel like this part about your money and your nervous system, I would love to just hear from you guys that are with us live, if you've ever put that together before. One of the biggest things that I learned from Jess was about making financial decisions from a regulated place versus a dysregulated place. So what do we really mean by that? When your nervous system is dysregulated, you're in fight or flight, you're in shock, you're in terror, you're in a frozen mode. I have a master's in health psychology, and one of the books that we read throughout my graduate work was Sapolsky. Is it Robert? Yeah, Robert Sapolsky's book called Why Zebras Don't Have Ulcers, right? Because animals can turn off this fight or flight, but us humans tend to stay locked into it, and we kind of get addicted to it. And then we have a dopamine hit when this thing happens. And so all the time we're experiencing our own personal stress just from our cute little minds, just from the way that we think, right? But there's also environmental stressors. There's also toxins. We're also eating glyphosate still. We're also part of areas that use pesticides and chemicals that do affect us, physically, and dysregulate our nervous system and our hormone system. So, I just feel like this part is going to be really exciting. So take some good notes. Listen to what she has to say. It will change your game completely, thoroughly, at a cellular level. So I just want to, I guess, hand the mic back to you so that you can talk about this connection.
So fun. And yeah, like you said, money is an amplifier, right, to everything else going on in your life. And how you do money is how you do everything. It really is. And it's all related. It's like this, there's a cycle. It's secular. There you go. But what I'd love for you all to drop into right now is really kind of drop into this when I'm talking and kind of see how it feels in your body, right? So, getting your financial house in order and working towards becoming financially free is one of the most impactful things you can do for your health, for your life, and for the world around you, right? Because when you're not constantly, like Tiff said, in that fight or flight, worried state around money, when you aren't one unexpected expense away from financial ruin, right? When your body isn't in that constant state of fight or flight, and when you have a clear plan and you know where you're going to reach your goals, when you feel confident about being able to self-direct or manage your own finances, investments, and those sorts of things, it clears that space in your mind, in your body, in your nervous system to show up fully, right? For everybody that depends on you, for yourself, really as the fullest version of yourself, right? In every aspect of your life. So when you think about that, how does that make you feel, right? If that was your life. And that is what we want to help you work towards, right? And it's really that simple, because putting this piece in place has such a profound impact on all of your bodily systems, right? And I don't know about you, but just like reading that, every time I read that, I'm like, oh my goodness, my neck and shoulders just like, yeah, because, that's been our life. And especially more so in the last 5 years, as we've really dialed this in, where it's like, I don't think about it or worry about it anymore, but that's because of the foundation that we've laid and the systems that we put in place, right? So, and in order to do that, you really have to put the structure in place, and that way, you feel on track and you don't feel behind. And so many of the women that I work with, and Tiff, you might be able to relate to this too. It's like they know how to make money, like we know how to produce and multitask and do the things. But what we're missing is the confidence, right, to make financial decisions. We're missing maybe that the biochemical regulation of our nervous system and understanding what state we're in before we make those decisions. Right, we're missing the financial education piece on how it all works. And let me just tell you, being, a female in a very male dominated, career all my life, like they want us to feel like this is complicated, and it doesn't have to be, right? They do. I mean, and it's not just they want women, they want people to
society, yes,
right, to not understand this, because there's a lot of money to be made off of not understanding it, right? And I want to tell you that you are capable of understanding this information, and you really, really are. And once you do, it'll set you free. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about. I also want to jump into too. It's like, okay, what would it feel like in your body to really have all these things? But everyone talks about, and maybe you've thought this too, like, I want to create generational wealth. Like I hear people say that all the time. And I'm like, they want to make sure their kids are taken care of and that sort of thing. But they do that without like having their financial house in order. So there's always like this goal to make more money. When I make more money, then I'm going to do the thing, or, get my finances in order. When I make more money, then I'm going to, create the generational wealth. What if you could take a step back, put the systems in place to support you to hold and grow the wealth that you do have and that you are making, right? Because money's always looking for a place to go. And if you don't direct it, you'll end up at the end of the month going, gosh, I had a really good month, but nothing to show for it. Anybody can relate to that? right? That was, I remember you saying that to me in your words, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so, there's that too. We want to be able to hold what we have and learn how to grow and compound that. And then not only that, but I would say instead of creating generational wealth, we pass along the financial knowledge for them to be able to do this, they're on their own, right? And how much more powerful. It's like the teach the man to fish metaphor or whatever.
Yeah.
It's that same thing. I mean, it's similar to people winning the lottery and ending up like, impoverished 5 years later, or, second generation heirs. I mean, look at them. I don't think we want to create those, right? We want to pass along the financial knowledge. So just some of the things that come to mind on that. And then let me just back up too and say there's 3 factors that are really important that impact your ability to build wealth. And we talked about a little bit about that financial literacy piece and why that's so important, just so you feel confident in making financial decisions, understanding the state of your nervous system, and then, getting biochemically regulated. So let's jump into that.
So I want to just refresh. I want to say that again, because
Yeah.
this is important. So that your money and your nervous system, the 3 factors that are impacting your money and your ability to create financial stability for your future, work optional life, and to have a healthy nervous system, right? She just went over it, but I have her notes, so I'm going to read it. The first one is your financial literacy, right? If you don't know how stocks and bonds and savings accounts and percentage, rates and all of that stuff works, you're going to avoid it, until you take a second and learn and calm down about what it all is and how so financial literacy. And the second one she's talking about is the state of your nervous system. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I hate when that happens. The second one she's talking about is your nervous system, right? And I'm going to tag team on that later and talk about Mercury, which rules your nervous system. Okay. And then the third one is how biochemically regulated you are, which has all of them together. All 3 of them work together. So I just want to make sure that you understand that that's the breakdown of what we're talking about. So, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so good. And you have to have all 3 for this to work efficiently, right? And so, okay, so the state of your finances, the state of your money, whether positive or negative, chaotic or grounded, it impacts all the areas of your life. And I know you touched on that, but it impacts your stress and anxiety levels. It impacts your overall outlook on life, right? This is something I hear all the time from women who feel behind, that feel like they've made some missteps, right? And it doesn't matter. Like, start now. You'd be surprised. It takes less than you think to set yourself up. I promise you that. It affects your ability to show up and do the work that you feel called to do in the world, right? And imagine if you are coaching other people and you're holding other people, and this piece of your life is all chaotic in the background. It's so helpful to get this not chaotic. It affects your motivation, right? It affects your physical health, because stress impacts all of that. It affects your sleeping. Who here, and this is me, it used to be me as well, right? It used to keep me up at night. I used to wake up gasping for air, like, am I gonna have to be a greeter at a big box retailer? I need to like understand this. And right, it's like, I think we think that as we walk by them sometimes. It affects what we eat, where you're just like, you have a case of the fuckets and pull into Chick-fil-A, right? It affects your relationships. So how does thinking about money feel in your body? And are you making financial decisions from a place of groundedness, from a place of confidence, or from a place of stress and worry? And it's really important to be able to identify that in your own body, right? And really understand that before you're like, oh, before I check my investment accounts, am I thinking the world is going to end because I just clicked on some doomsday thing about the economy, right? And then I'm now in fight or flight, or I'm totally shut down, or I'm like, oh my gosh, the world's ending. Like, where are you at when you are leaning in to take a look at your finances, to make decisions about them? That is key, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I have to laugh a little bit because there's so much of that going on right now, especially in election year. I mean, it's like the questions that I get asked about, like, what people should do. And here's what you should do. Have your plan in place, mapped out, and then ignore everybody else. Ignore the news, ignore everything, and know that you're on track and stick to your plan. That's going to be what you do. Okay, so you might have heard of the terms of, fight or flight, like we're talking about, which is your cortisol response. It's your something's around the corner evolutionary response, right? Or your freeze response when you're just like, oh, too much today, I'm going to go check out with Netflix or whatever that looks like in your life. Or when you wake up and you're like, man, I am getting stuff done, I am in flow, right? And that's the state you want to be in when you're like, okay, let's check the investment account, let's make this trade, let's do the thing, right? So it's really important to be able to differentiate. And that is going to be key. So start to think about that for you. When I think about what does groundedness look like for you, right? Think anchored. Think feeling like you're on track. You're not behind, you're on track. You think positive, abundant, deliberate, long-term. That's some of the things that, for the words that resonate with me when I think about being in a flow state. It's like in the zone. Everything's light. Things feel optimistic, right? That's the time. Okay, so you definitely want to make all your decisions from that place if possible. And in the class we did some exercises around like, what do you need to do to drop into that place, right? And so if you are in a fight or flight situation, think about a car stopping quickly in front of you. That feeling, it takes your breath away. That immediately puts you into fight or flight. Maybe some conversations with loved ones that are tense. I don't know, whatever puts you in that, right? So make sure you can identify when you're in that state. And when I think of fight or flight, I think of like shaky, I think of indecisive, I think of like second guessing myself, behind, erratic, scared.
Heart racing,
palpitations. Yeah, how does that feel in your body?
Well, same. It's just like there's this like, I don't know, just really shaky, really lightning bolty, really jolted, really thrown off center. One of my colleagues' teachers, Lisa Williams, says, you're healed until you're triggered, right? So I could have gone to the best yoga class and been so centered and said all my love yous and prayed for everybody and felt good. And then something can happen that jolts you into something that feels uncontrollable, that you are now trying to escape from or get away from or avoid. That's like a big measuring stick, I guess, for when we all get into that flight zone. Is this a good time for me to share what mine were, or do you want me to wait?
Let me get through just this little bit on the next stage. So think about that, think about what your pattern looks like when you're in fight or flight. And, because if you make decisions in that state, it's going to leave you vulnerable, right? It's going to leave you vulnerable to, fads or schemes or things that look appealing that you really should avoid. It's going to give you that FOMO, right? So you don't want to make decisions from that energy. And then also think about when you are in a freeze state, right? So a freeze state, when I think about that, it's like you're checked out, you're overwhelmed, you're in denial, do nothing. You might not even get to the computer to make a financial decision, but definitely don't make anything in that state either. And so, making those decisions from a place of freeze will often lead to feelings of like hopelessness, disempowerment. My pattern is avoidant when I get this way, right? I just kind of like go under a rock. I have this anxious, avoidant pattern. So think about that for you. And hopefully this was helpful, and start thinking about that when you are purchasing something. What state are you in? When you are paying a bill, what state are you in? When you are making a decision to save or not save, what state are you in? And this will go a long way in really changing your perspective around building and being able to start building and growing your wealth. So I'd love to hear how that exercise that we did worked for you, and what that looked like for you.
For me, or you? Yeah, okay. So I was like, they don't know it yet. They're not going to be able to comment. But I thought like this was one of those basic pieces before you get into the nuts and bolts of investing in finances and how all of the different buckets work and what your number is for your early retirement. And before you do any math at all in the spreadsheet, right, that Jess set up, which is amazing. This piece to me changed so much, and it's so simple and so straightforward. But when I'm in a flight, anxiety, panic, like nervousness state. So I think money is infinite, which is weird. You might not feel that way. When I'm in a fight or flight state, I just start spending like crazy. Like I got to get all the things before I don't have the money anymore, right? That's nuts. That's not sane. And when I'm also, so that's what I think about money. But what I think I am is totally invincible, which is also not sane. But if you go into the exercise, right, when I'm in a fight or flight state, I think that I can spend as much as I want. I think that I am invincible. I think that there's a never ending supply and I've got to hurry up and get all the things done quickly. I'm in a triggered state, When I am in a freeze state, right? So what do I think money is and what do I think I am? When I am frozen, avoiding, shut down, overwhelmed, can't move, don't feel like eating, don't even want to watch the shows, don't just like catatonic feeling, I think money's non-existent. I don't think there is any money. I don't think there's ever going to be any money. And then I think I am powerless, which is also insane because we know that that's not true. And then the third option really is that state of peace, that ventral, that flow state that Jess is talking about. And so when I'm in ventral or when I'm in my flow or peace, I think money is fun. I enjoy it. I don't feel ashamed of it or think it's the root of all evil or have to go work on daddy and God issues and all of these things that crop up when we think about provision in the universe and all of the, you know what I mean? It's just fun, right? And then when I'm also in ventral, I think I am worthy, that I'm worth it, that it's worth having fun with money, right? This doesn't mean that I'm irresponsibly spending like a crazy person. It just means, like Jess says, money wants somewhere to go. So how are you directing it with your nervous system, which I can help you with on the astrology side once we start talking about Mercury. But I did want to share mine because I think they are a little extreme. I have the gate of extremes in human design. And I know that you'll find your own way with these exercises too. And how Jess and we had the pleasure that Amy Guerrero was one of our special guests in the class that I took with Jess, and just walking us through these nervous system exercises to understand what you think about money and what you think about yourself during these different states and identifying that for you, right? Hopefully it's vastly different than me. But once you understand that, you're working from a real place of integrity, a real place of sobriety, a real place of honesty. And then all of the other pieces start to, so this is the foundation, like this is a great foundational piece. I hope you all take her class because she goes through it at a much deeper and more extensive level with you, but hopefully that gives you a little taste.
Yeah. And your experience too, because once we went through this exercise, you went through this exercise and really dropped in and made it a way of life. Then all of a sudden you had all of these things happen, right?
Yes, I did.
And you were able to, hold it and, move through it and move on from it. Right. And how timely was that, right? That it wasn't something that, was I don't want to say financial ruin, but things happen, it stops people in their tracks, right?
Yes.
And it's like, now you had tools. So I thought that was really cool. Not that I ever wanted that stuff to happen at all, but it's like, how great was it for you to be in support when that did happen?
Totally. And it was, I felt kind of bad because I was like texting Jess all these bad things that were happening, but from this weird place of like, everything's okay. And yes, these things happened. Yes, they were out of my control. And yes, everything is going to be okay. It didn't throw me into a financial tailspin because I more deeply understood that how to regulate the nervous system from this perspective of finances. So I texted her, like my computer completely died. I have to have that for my work, right? Completely, thoroughly dead, right? And I needed a certain amount of storage. So it wasn't a cheap computer that I had to Then I was driving and I blew a tire, which meant that I needed to get all new tires. I ended up getting an all new truck, which was a whole other story. Then I had, that emergency surgery that you guys have been journeying with me about, and I feel amazing. So thank you for all your tender loving care. But that, as somebody, that wasn't planning for that amount of those amount of expenses to all happen at once, right? I could have really let that freak me out and stopped creating and stopped giving and stopped doing my services and stopped doing the work that I enjoy and stopped beekeeping. I could have just totally frozen. But these are some of the things that helped me walk through this. And yeah, we were in a Venus-Uranus square. I did know there was going to be some unpredictable expenses, right? And that's okay. But this piece, I'm glad that you brought that up, because I just feel like nothing can hurt me at all. Like, I feel like I can move through anything with peace and serenity and clarity because of the level of honesty I have dove in deeply into around my finances, which is hard to do alone. And I didn't want to Google it, and I didn't want to pay some crazy financial advisor, and I didn't want to do it in privacy and secrecy. And I wanted to do it with you, like, so I'm just so grateful that you're doing this.
And I love nothing more than to help people organize and dial in their money. I really
her Virgo's hanging out, guys.
I love it so much. I mean, if you guys knew, I have a Quicken file going back to 1999 when I started tracking my finances. And so, I have been doing this all of my life, but it wasn't until 5 years ago that I was like, all right, how do we make sure we're set up so that we can go do other things with our time?
Yeah.
With COVID hitting and like the finality of life, it's like might not be here, right? So let's
Right.
there's things I want to do, places I want to go. So, and that's when the Intentional Wealth Collective was born, because so many of the women that I work with, it's not just a course that they need to do. They need someone to walk alongside them when they open the account, when they make the trade, when they put the components in place. And I just really love doing all of that. It's helping you put your infrastructure in place, formulating your step-by-step plan, putting your automations in place, getting clarity around everything, doing a whole audit, which I know can see that word can as a Virgo, I'm like, oh, it makes my nervous system feel so happy. We do a complete audit of everything. We up level things. We spend more in categories that we love. We get rid of everything that doesn't bring us joy. And it's such a liberating thing, right? So let's jump into the biochemical piece. I am so excited to talk about this too, because this is also my life's work, helping to bring the first mental wellness company to market, and as a certified mental wellness coach. So the biochemical component is very, very important. And so what that means is when your nervous system isn't regulated biochemically, you're not able to hold the work. So you think of everybody, probably many of you, doing the work, whatever that looks like in your life right now, working with a coach, doing trauma work, doing astrology work, spiritual work, whatever, sobriety work. I don't know what that work is for you, but whatever the work is, if you're not regulated, it's hard to hold it and make it a way of life, right? And so the whole goal with getting your nervous system regulated and your cortisol, and not just your stress hormones, but actually all of your hormonal markers rebalances, it allows you then to be able to lean into the money piece. Just like Tiff was saying, with all these things that were coming at her, and she didn't go into a tailspin, right? Because we had been working on this. So you want to jump into some of that right now?
I do, absolutely. And I also want to just address some of the comments. People are agreeing with the self-regulation to balance your nervous system. Marilyn saying that she was in a super toxic job with a long commute, and that created hair loss, which now she's wearing wigs. Susan is saying that this topic is huge, and Anne is saying absolutely. And Rosie is saying, please free me. She developed a neuro disorder from living in survival mode as a single mom, which I can relate to. Lisa G says she's all ears and she's happy to learn from you, Jess. Desiree's here, says hello. There's other comments saying like, yeah, the heart rate gets fast. And one, Lucinda's saying that money is finally flowing better in her life, but she's sick of her job and she's working hard for the money. So we can address that. And Colette is asking, what is the company called? So I think Colette is referring to the mental wellness company, because Colette is also in the mental wellness industry. And so, yes, this is a perfect time to shift. I just wanted to give everybody some love, say we see you and we're seeing your questions. And in terms of, rebalancing your nervous system from a biochemical level, we're talking about supplements. We're talking about what you put into your body. We're talking about, I don't know, like I I don't know if I'm supposed to say this or not. I struggled with whether I was going to share this, but I stopped taking all of my hormone medication. I don't recommend that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not suggesting that you should, but I have, because of my nervous system rebalancing through not only the financial sobriety piece, but also this rebalancing protocol for hormones and gut brain health. And I'm sleeping at night. I have no heartburn. The medical mystery that disappeared with the surgery a couple of weeks ago, like, I have absolutely no repercussions. And everything has returned to this place of serenity and peace like I've never experienced before. So the biochemical piece, it's not just like, I'm not going to drink, yes, celery juice is great, but I'm not going to drink it every day for the rest of my life. I'm also not going to play doctor and figure out the 50 supplements I was taking, which one's working, which one's not, this endless thing of blood work, like trying to understand, like, this doctor, that doctor, this doctor, that doctor, all Eastern, Western, all of the things. I've done them all. And for me, I'm now on 3.5 supplements, and that's it. I don't take anything else, and I drink a lot of water. And this is the protocol that she's about to share, with not only your hormone balancing, but also your gut brain access, which allows us to be more intuitive. So yeah, let's talk about this piece. We'll talk about Mercury, and we'll address some of your questions that have been popping up.
Awesome. I'm just now seeing all of the comments. I didn't have
the
tab open. I'm like, hi, everyone.
Good.
Hi. Okay, so what does it really mean to recalibrate your gut-brain connection and your nervous system at the biochemical level, right? Like, everybody talks about this. It's like, okay, we can do breath work, we can do meditation, we can do all the things, and I do all the things.
Yes.
But if your body is not able to produce the chemicals and communicate them to the brain and across the body effectively, then you're missing a huge well-being component. So I just want to talk a minute about the gut-brain axis, because when this crossed my path, I was at a big crossroads, and I can so relate to, I'm scrolling through the comments on the hair loss. Oh, Marilyn, hi. That was me. Welcome. Me too. Very long commute, very stressful job, was lost hair, mystery health symptoms, going down all the rabbit holes, thinking it was thyroid, adrenal, hormone balancing, all the things. And when I had the opportunity to get on these products and this protocol, it got to the root cause of everything that I had been trying to figure out, playing detective, doing the tinctures, doing the celery juice, and I had been in this industry for a very long time, 14 years now. So I had the cereal bowl full of supplements that I didn't feel well on. And I'll never forget when my mentor, one of the world-renowned scientists around the gut-brain axis, when he asked me, he's like, let me ask you, does it feel like your brain is low on cell phone bars? And I was like, oh my gosh, you're in my head. I couldn't communicate what it was that it felt like something was off, something was misfiring, something just wasn't connecting. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. And I'll never forget when he said, okay, well, what kind of probiotics are you taking? And I was like, probiotics. I take a good probiotic. Yeah. He's like, well, what strains of probiotic? And this was 6 years ago, when this was really cutting edge. So you might know this, but this was new to me. He was like, what strains are you taking? And I was like, I have no idea. And so I got home, looked at the bottle. I was like, I didn't know there was different strains that do different things. And he's like, you have to match the probiotic strain to the health outcome you're looking to achieve. So if you can't remember anything or think straight, if you can't sleep, if you have anxiety and depression for the first time ever, you need to take the strains to address those things. So I was like, oh, light bulb, could this be it? Right. And so I go home and I look at the bottle. I'm like, oh, I am taking the strains for mineral absorption and I don't know if it was diarrhea or constipation. Anyways, it was for digestive health, which is good, but it definitely wasn't for all the things I was dealing with. I was like, I'm missing that. So when we talk about the gut-brain connection, it is feeding our gut the newly sequenced strains that help improve mental wellness by helping your body to be able to produce the feel-good neurotransmitters, which are the dopamine, the serotonin, the norepinephrine, oxytocin, all the things, GABA, to make you come down and relax, right? All the things that I was missing. So, that is what a big component of it is, because our gut talks to our brain 90, and I'm going to do the hand signals, 90% one way, this way. You wouldn't think that. We used to think like if you had something wrong here, it was here, but it's actually in your second brain. And so if your nervous system and your gut is dysregulated, not well, then it's not able to produce the neurotransmitters that then are signaled up to your brain via your nervous system, right? Which is the vagus nerve, and then it goes out to all your organs. And so that's a big component of it. And then there's a gut lining component of it, which is if your gut is permeable, it's unable to then do that communication. So you could have incomplete, diversity or strains in your gut, and you could also have your lining, which is all, it's leaky, and therefore it's triggering inflammatory responses. And you might feel like, and this was me, I started to get rashes all over my body. I was like, what is happening? Like rashes, hair loss, foods I weren't able to digest foods, that I could eat before. And it was like, something is not right. And so it was doing the protocol to address that, to address the probiotic strains, to address the leaky gut, and then feed my brain and feed our brain, your brain, the right nutrients to help support, the memory, the recall. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I have somebody I love very much with a neurological degenerative disease, and it's so awful to watch. And if there's anything we can do to help, nourish our brain to help prevent some of that, then I'm just hyper focused on that, which is the Alzheimer's, the dementia, the Parkinson's, because once you start losing that, you're not well. And so the gut brain connection all plays a role in that, right? Parkinson's, it's a gut brain axis issue. A lot of autoimmune conditions, gut brain axis impairment, right? Asthma. I mean, so many food intolerances, all the things. And so if we address this one thing, it has positives effects through all of the bodily systems. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, my cycles are normal now. Oh, I can remember what I walked into the room for. Oh, all the right. It's like, oh, I have motivation to work all day and I actually enjoy it. Right. Yeah. So it's just like getting your body biochemically regulated, getting your internal pharmacy, because we all have that, right? We want our body to work as designed, feeding it what we need to be able to do that. And then the last component layering on that is recalibrating the hormones. And the way we come at that is we come at that with the cortisol balancing, with the adrenal balancing. That's your stress hormones. When that's off, that messes with a lot of things too, your thyroid, all the things. Then we also layer on the female hormones with a protocol that just helps bring everything back into its natural balance. Very helpful for every age level, right? And then also your metabolic hormones. So there's a big component there that controls our appetite signaling, our ability to lose weight. Yeah, I mean, just to all the things. So we want to then get all of those hormones recalibrated. So when we're talking about biochemically, that is the thing. It's gut-brain axis and layering on the hormones to just get you feeling good in your body in this lifetime, right? Like life's too short to feel like shit. I just can't say that enough, right? So yeah, hopefully that explained it. I could talk all day on the gut brain axis. I won't bore you on the technical stuff, but if you have questions, put it in the comments.
Well, but I love the technical stuff. And like I said, Jess is a Virgo. Her Virgo's hanging out a little bit with all of the the health and the data and the numbers and the finances. My midheaven is in Virgo. Let's use this and talk about Mercury for a little bit and then go into some of the questions. Yes, somebody's commenting about leaky gut. So we could talk about that specifically in the questions. The last little piece I want to give you before we go into the questions is this metaphysical anatomy of your nervous system. Okay. So, some of the statistics, right, when people are studying brain science and meditation and how people work psychically or mediumistically, what they show is that when you're tapping into your intuition or your psychic side is that you're using 60% more of your brain. So on a day-to-day basis, you're maybe using 20%, but when you're working with your intuition, you're at 80%, which is a lot of your brain. Right. And so people that have experienced trauma, drama, or are in fight or flight, you're already in that heightened state where your spidey senses are out. You're picking up on stuff psychically. You're trying to avoid some future problem, and you're trying to second guess it before it happens, you're using way more of your brain power, right? And so this gut brain axis comes into play with your psychic work too. The metaphysical anatomy of the nervous system, we are body, mind, soul, aura, and chakras, right? We are an interconnected web of all of those things. We are this, I guess, engineered with these electrical circuits, right? The yogis talk about it through prana, right? The yogis talk about it through the nadis, all of the systems. And so one of my earlier interests was in chiropractic. Okay, so Mercury is the planet. If you're going to look at this from an astrological level in your chart or in the transits that are happening, everybody has all of the planets in the sky when they were born, and so all of these archetypes are teachers that we can look to in our chart. We want to know what sign they were in, what house they were in, how they were aspected, what the conversation was, right? And so each one has a different kind of flavor. Well, Mercury is the archetype of the teacher, the communicator, the thinker. Mercury rules our brain, the way that we talk and speak with each other. So maybe Venus is love languages, but Mercury is like intellect languages. And so it always breaks my heart when people are quick to diagnose learning disorders and things. It's not that they're not real, they are real. However, if you knew how your child's brain worked and they were given the opportunity to think and learn differently, how might that affect how they are learning, right? If you knew that their Mercury was in Scorpio versus Pisces, that's a very different style of learner, right? So Mercury not only rules the brain and the way that we think and the way that we talk and have communication and exchange data points with each other, right? It also rules the entire nervous system. So in chiropractic, right, you think about the nervous system the nerves going through the spine. And if any little piece is kinked up or shut off at all, communication is not flowing. Right? So you go to the chiropractic, you go to the gym, you go to massage, you go get acupuncture, and you have relief for a moment, and maybe you're corrected for a longer period of time, but you usually go back into that pattern where communication is shut off, right? And so that's what Jess is saying. This biochemical regulation is what will help hold any type of work that you're doing at all. I use chiropractic as the example. A lot of people in astrology talk about manifesting with the moon, right? And so I am going to be teaching a course on manifesting with Mercury instead of manifesting with the moon, because when you're manifesting, when you're thinking about your financial dreams, when you're thinking about financial freedom or that work optional lifestyle, you're thinking about it. It's all in your head. It's Mercury, right? But then we want to embody that too with a feeling tone, which is often discussed with the moon, our emotions. But that feeling tone, you have to embody it. It has to go from the brain through the nerves out into the rest of the body. And that is a function of Mercury. So I'm not saying you can't blame Mercury for any of your problems, but you can use it to understand how you operate differently, right? There is no mainstream. There is no one fits all solution, right? It just is an understanding for how you're thinking and how your personal nervous system works. It's different than mine. It's different than Jess's. It's different, right? Yours is a unique, special snowflake of a nervous system. And we need to access that, right? And so astrology is one way that we can access how we manifest things, including our dreams, our hopes, and our goals, not just through thinking, but also through really embodying it in the nervous system. So if the nervous system is dysregulated, you're manifesting from a really dysregulated place, right? You could probably look at all of my little financial mishaps and be like, well, she created that from a really dysregulated place, right? And as she got regulated, all of this cascade of events happened to clear things out, right? So that's one way of looking at it. This Colette says this sounds like sorcery in a good way. It is. Marilyn says that she craves carbs and sweets, and she doesn't drink or use, that she uses food as a comfort, and thankfully no weight issues. Yeah. And then Anne says, how did I know which supplements I needed? Well, I worked with Jess is how I figured it out, because these were the two, my main goal at the beginning, I thought, was hormone balancing, right? So last summer I had a lot of shoulder pain. I had a doctor tell me, oh, that's you're premenopausal, you're having a hormone issue. Well, I did all the blood work and I was taking all the right medications, but I was still having this pain that nobody could fix, right? Well, underneath hormone health is gut health, right? So it's always going to go back to that gut brain axis. So for me, having digestive support, having hormone balancing support, and then having that whole gut brain axis pathway cleared up so that my vagus system could work, normally, right? That is what my focus was when I started working with Jess. And it's a good system. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? How we figured out what I needed and why it's good for everybody?
Yeah, would love to.
Yeah.
And I just want to answer some questions in the comments.
Please. Yeah.
Let's see, Colette, the company is called Amari Global, the mental wellness company. And Lisa, yes, leaky gut, it's a thing. And addressing it will have a cascading effect on so many things that you didn't know were related if you feel like some of this is resonating with you. Okay, Marilyn, carbs and sweets, welcome. We don't drink or use either. I'm actually celebrating 10 years sober on Monday. So I get that. And I'll have to just say real quick, when I got sober, there was nobody there telling me like how to feel better after alcohol. And that was a big missing link in my recovery puzzle, because it was like, there's sugar and you're eating your way to whatever. And this gut brain axis rebalancing was the key to actually feeling at home in my body after quitting alcohol. So I just that's awesome that you don't drink or use. I don't know if you're in recovery, but I wanted to share that because the sweets and carbs craving is actually because bad gut bacteria is overpowering the good beneficial bacteria, and it's signaling to your brain to feed it so it doesn't die. And so it's been grown using the food source of sugar and sweets, so therefore it craves that, and then it tells your brain to feed it that so that it doesn't die. So you get that to go away, and it changes all your cravings, and it's so cool. There really is sorcery in this. Around the gut brain connection is so freaking amazing. They're starting to address so many things with it, and it is at kind of a beginning stage. But anyways, okay. How do you determine what supplements you need? I am happy to help you put together a custom protocol based on your goals. Tiffany did put her
my protocol
in the comments. That's a great starting point. That's going to help just rebalance your hormones. It'll help you digest your food better. It'll help you get that signaling between the gut and the brain and the leaky gut addressed. So that's a great starting point for most people. So let me know if that answers your question. So there's a kind of a generic, here's what Tiff uses, great starting point. And we're also here to help you if you have specific. Oh, awesome. If you have specific health goals, right? Because that's also our jam. 11 years. Oh, love that. Awesome. Congratulations.
Okay. I want to be sensitive to our hour, and I want to ask some of the questions from the Facebook group. So I'm just going to read them to you, Jess. One of the things somebody says, I'm excited, but I'm not sure what to ask yet. And I need help in all of these areas. And I just I'm excited for that question because this is my main point. There's a missing piece. You don't know what it is. It's stressing you out. You're using 80% of your brain to try to figure it out, and it's not there. And I feel like Jess has done all of the legwork in this department, right? She demystified, deconstructed the financial jam that is built to. And, it's like, I just want to, I guess, be direct and say it's really built to keep you from not knowing, how to access your finances. And so it's confusing and it's vast and it's not a one size all situation. And so, yes, you're excited. You don't know what to ask, and it's stressing you out, and it's keeping you, it's preventing you from intentional wealth building. So hopefully something in this conversation today spoke to you. The second question is that they're really excited about the potential of this workshop, right? And that they're looking forward to the connection about the nervous system and the financial abundance. And so the potential is absolutely there. It's just, what actions do you want to take? Do you want to, how many more nights do you want to wake up worrying about what bill is going to get paid? How many, you know what I mean? Like, how many more hours do you want to waste? Like the hours that could have been useful in your life, right? How much more do you want to waste with that? Someone says, if I am somehow repelling money, so this one's for you, Jess, I tend to get overwhelmed when money doesn't stretch to meet needs. Right now, I'm completely overwhelmed with broken major appliances, huge medical bills, and having to juggle bills to try to keep everyone happy. Well, except me, as I don't seem to be able to find a remedy to this situation. So we're going to not do any counseling towards that. But what I hear in this question is, this person is overwhelmed. They're in some sort of nervous system dysregulation. Things are going wrong. They're not happy, and they feel like they're repelling money. So is there any inspiration or words of wisdom or track you could offer for other people that are also feeling that way?
Yeah. And just know that, like, welcome, right? Yeah. Like, you're not alone. And this is why it's so good to just get everything out and organized and a plan in place so that you know where you're going, right? So that we can map out a plan to get that paid off, to get it to the point where now you're investing in your wealth building. So yeah, it just takes, like, taking an honest look at it in support and putting that plan in place. And that plan helps with so many things, right? Just with feeling confident, with feeling like you're on track, with feeling like you can do this on so many levels. I find that so many people, because they don't have that plan, it just, like, again, they have nothing at the end of the month. But once you start realizing that, oh, I have this plan and it would result in this 5 years down the road, then everything shifts. And I swear that's when, like, things start to flow, right, monetarily too. So I don't know if that's helpful. Definitely come and join the workshop on Tuesday night. That'll be a free workshop, and yeah, you'll get a lot out of that. Obviously, to put all these pieces together, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks. So there is a mentorship program that is available for those who really are ready to do that. But you'll get a really good foundation, I think, from the workshop.
So I just highlighted that link up there too. It's free. Go enjoy it with Jess. The last question I want to address in our Facebook group is, how does the amount of money you earn affect your nervous system?
Yeah, how does it?
Yeah. How does it? Exactly. That question goes right back to you. Like, we need you to answer that, because we don't know how your nervous system. Are you feeling fight, flight, shock, horror? Are you excited? Do you like what you're earning? Is it helping you? I think that's where going to some of Jess's classes and understanding how you feel regulated or not will help you understand how that amount of money is affecting you. And it's not about more either. I would love, just for you to talk about some of your personal, just your values. Like, you guys moved to Rockport, you have a RV, you have a affordable house, you have done these things in a way that I think is really honest, it has a lot of integrity, and is very relatable. So would you speak a little bit to the fact that you don't need more, and what you guys did in that situation?
Yeah, I would love to speak on that, because that's, like, the whole point of intentional wealth, right? It's, you might, at the end of it, you might say, yeah, I want more because I want to live a work optional life faster, right? But it's all about holding and growing what you do have, putting a plan in place to do that. That's something we're not taught, right? And I know you had a lot of aha moments through the mentorship program around that. Like, I wish, and a lot of resentment that you weren't taught that before, right?
Yes.
So this is like, okay, well, now we're learning it now, but then the pieces start to click. But back to our life, ever since I left corporate America back in 2009, I've been on this intentional journey to simplify our life, right? And we've continued to downsize and let things go and really tune into the life that we want to live, right? And so this is a big part of the Intentional Wealth Collective, is we get really raw and real around what is that life that you want to live, so then we can actually put a plan in place to create it, right? And people miss that step. They always want more and more. I need more. I need more. I want to build wealth. I want to build generational wealth. Da da da. But I'm like, but why? What are you going to do with it? Right? We have to get specific before this gets dynamic and starts to compound, right? So with our life, yeah, just really taking a look at all the areas that we spend money in. We've let go of the things that don't light us up. We live an extremely intentional, simple life. Everything that doesn't bring me joy, I very Marie Kondo'd it, right? The other, like six months or a year ago, I'm like, I no longer want to drive a car. It doesn't bring me joy, right? So now I drive an electric golf cart in our little beach town. And so I just constantly checking in. I'm in my RV right now. We have it next to our little 800 square foot beach cottage down at the Texas coast. And, this life didn't fall out of the sky. It was us putting a plan in place and then intentionally working towards it. And now it keeps evolving, right? Now we're saving for other goals and other experiences and things. But once you know how to put the infrastructure in place to support all these dreams, then it makes things really fun. And yeah, the less stuff, the better. The more experiences, the better. I'm not a frugal person. I just don't like a lot of clutter. I can't think with it. But you better believe I like first class travel. I like, first class food like Tiffany does. And so we get to determine what that looks like for you, right? Other people like other things. And that's the fun part about getting really intentional around this area of your life in this lifetime, right? Because now you get to use it. Because money is neutral, and how do we then direct it and use it to create more of what it is that you want in this life, right? Because it's just that vehicle to get. For us, it's more time, more freedom, more ways to experience the world, more ways to be able to give back without thinking twice. Like, I never want to have to think twice if I see a fundraiser I want to give to, or some charity, so we've been really intentional about putting that all together. What does that look like? What do we want to spend money on and not have restraints on, right? And
or
so
guilt or shame or worry or anxiety or anything about, like it's okay, right? Like,
yeah, no guilt, no shame. And this is why we have to kind of take a look at it all and get it all, put all the pieces together. Where are you at? And then put a plan in place to create the life that you want, right? And nobody teaches us how to do this. It's so important too, especially if you're wanting to retire in this lifetime. Have you thought about that? Have you thought about what you needed to retire? It's like nobody.
So I want to speak to that for just a second too, because that was one of my big things. I had never even looked at Social Security because I thought, like, it's not going to be there. I don't believe in it. And then through the class, some of the things that we did to clean up our finances and get an honest look of where we were included calling institutions to lower my bills. I didn't think that was going to happen either. Well, guess what? I have a good amount of Social Security coming my way, and I can plan for it, right? And I was able to lower my bills significantly. And I really didn't think I was going to be able to do that. So all of these strategies and systems, I think, are also helpful in the group environment. So when I went through it with my group, I think Spirit put it together really nicely, because there's a bunch of sober people, which Jess and I are, and there was a bunch of beekeepers, which is hilarious to me that we always tend to find each other. There were people that live in my area in this very small town in Texas. And so, this might be the right time for you. Financial freedom, all of that, those buzzwords, it's not for everybody, but it might be for you, right? It might be for you. And so if it is, check out her free class, check out the supplements, start to regulate your system, make decisions from a clear place, understand Mercury placements. I'm here for you for that one. And then I want to respect our hour. It looks like there's maybe 2 more questions. Do you want to address those?
Which ones?
I see Nadine's asking about if your system involves, you see that one? Okay.
Yeah, I do. Okay. Yes. It does address flour and sugar addictions, because part of this process is a process to prime the gut of the bad gut bacteria that's the food source of, uses flour and sugar as the food source. So yes, this is the perfect place to start with those addictions. And yeah, once you change your gut microbiome, you will be like, my kid is asking for broccoli, or what is wrong? Or, I don't want any of that food. It doesn't look good, right? Because it's literally signaling to your brain to feed it good stuff. So yes, yes, yes. That's a great question. And I love that somebody said they already have Amari supplements. Susan, that's amazing. Yes, I'm so glad you have those. And Nadine, I love that. People should assess how much is enough. Seriously. Yeah, what are we all on this hedonic treadmill for? Like, what is enough? I really want everybody to ask themselves that. And it doesn't mean you can't strive for more, right? There's everything can be true at once. This is so much fun.
This was fun. I'm putting a couple of our housekeeping notes in the comments so that they'll be there when we go back to them. You guys have Jess's link in the about your class coming up. It's your free workshop on Monday. And then I'm also putting some links to a couple of things I'm teaching coming up. The Anatomy of Intuition is free. It's on a Sunday afternoon. I'm doing some psychic circles, which if you, the first thing I'm going to talk about is bioregulation. And Jess is going to be there for the body portion of the 5 tiers of how we're addressing the anatomy of intuition. So you'll get to see her again if you come there. Please register. My friend Adrian does a soul quest every year, and it starts tonight. And so I thought it started on the 19th. I thought I had more time to tell you about it. But if you are interested in also supporting the spring equinox shift from mind, body, spirit, financial health, this is an awesome meditation she does every night. So I just wanted to throw that in there. And you have got my link. So if anybody has any questions, right, I'm Tiff at tiffanyharelik.com. Jess is Jess at JessJanda.com. I'll put our emails in there. And it looks like people are just...
Marilyn was asking if you have your Amari link to purchase the supplement protocol.
Oh, I do. Let me pop it back in there. Let's see. It says, it's a comment. It says, these are the specific supplements I'm taking. And so, I'm doing the Happy Hormone Pack, which is Ignite, which I take at night. And this is something that, I'm kind of on and off with supplements. I'm just like yoga and meditation. I'm doing this every day, and I'm getting like that benefit of consistent, steady everydayness. So these I take 2 at night. These are the Ignite Healthy, Happy Hormones. It says sexual wellness and hormone balance, right? And so I love that. But this is, I take these at night, and then I take the GBX Fit in the morning. And for the first time, I feel like I'm actually having belly fat go away in a healthy way, which is, I can't believe I'm like even saying on a podcast, but it's so true. So I take one of these in the morning, and then I take a product called Digestive when I'm eating, and Mood, which is kind of like a yoga class in a bottle. It just really kind of gets you back to center and calm. And then Mentasync. And I would you speak a little bit about Mentasync? I'm sorry to keep being like, would you talk about this? And I promise we'll go, but would you share a little bit about how Mentasync works?
Yes. And Colette, there is a promo code for the starter pack. We'll get that over to you. So yes, wait for that. We'll give you a promo code. Is Amari supplement similar to Arbonne? No, because they address different things. So we come at it from specific probiotic strains that address mental health. That most supplement companies, including Arbonne, have the probiotic strains that address digestive health. So there's a big difference there. And then we have, we're mental wellness focused. I think when I think of Arbonne, which has great products, I think of more just health and wellness overall. So different, if that makes sense, Lisa. Okay, the Mentasync product, we talked about that a little bit. It addresses the gut lining, right? So if your gut is permeable, leaky, then it's causing an inflammatory cascade across your body that can, manifest in all sorts of ways, right? Autoimmune conditions, food intolerances, depression, anxiety, all sorts of like things that we don't want. So a big component of repairing or recalibrating the gut-brain connection is repairing that leaky gut and that gut lining. So once that happens, then it's able to then help the communication between the gut and the brain. So it helps, and there's different ways the gut and the brain communicate. One is the vagus nerve and the nervous system. The other way is the immune system. So Mentasync comes in and helps that communication through both of those pathways. Very powerful, also good for immune health, which is just a benefit in today's world, right? So yeah, great product. That product is key. If you were to try to piece together all the different things that you would need for leaky gut, I work with so many practitioners and functional medicine doctors that address this, and they're like, oh, we used to have to send our clients to, here and there and all these things to get the beta glucans, the alpha glucans, the zinc carnosine, the butyrate, all the things. Now it's in this one little thing. And so it's awesome. So it's just very efficient.
Perfect. Yeah, it does, totally. And I think the promo code is baked into my link. It says promo applied when I click on it. Is there a different one?
So if you're looking at Tiffany's pack, Colette, then that does have the promo applied. If you are looking at the actual starter pack, which is something different on the website, let us get you a promo for that.
Okay. Yeah, promos. All right. Well, Jess, Colette says, any specific recommendations for inflammation?
We could do a whole class on that.
Yeah, we should. I would love to do a whole class on inflammation.
Oh my gosh. So, where is the inflammation showing up? And again, addressing the gut lining is going to address the inflammatory response from the leaky gut. So that is like the first place, right? So you have, inflammation across your body, but you can also have it in your brain with neural inflammation. So all the things, yes. Menta Sync for that. Neural inflammation, you're going to want to look more to our Happy Juice pack. So I'm happy to help you put together a customized plan, Colette.
Yeah. Well, I guess in closing, I just want to say thank you, Jess, for hanging out with me. I always love hanging out with you, and I always learn something. You're so wise, and you just share so freely the things that you have really studied and learned and picked up and embodied. And I think the main reason that I like working with you is because, again, you really walk your talk, and I can totally trust you. I can trust that you've done the homework, that you've done the data research. I can trust that it works because I see how things have changed for you over time, and I just really admire and appreciate you. And I'm really thankful for you helping me get on this path. There's, yes, yoga, yes, meditation, yes, chiropractic, yes, acupuncture, but without the biochemical regulation, none of that's going to stick anyways. So you're on this perpetual going and going and going, right? So to me, my really in the last month, my whole outlook has changed. My peace is greater than I thought possible. And I really liken it to a radical physical healing and getting these supplements and reconfiguring the hormones and gut brain health. So I hope you guys learned something about your finances. I hope that you all work with Jess because she's amazing. I'd love to welcome her back. It seems like you got a good reception here today. So I'd love to have you back sometime. And anything else you want to add in closing?
Thank you so much. I've had so much fun, and I can't wait to get to know all of you and be a resource for you on all of your paths, whether it's financial, nervous system, mental wellness, all the things. And Tiffany, you've created something really special here. So thank you so much for including me in this.
Yeah, I'm happy to share you. Your best kept secret now unveiled. All right. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you next time. Namaste.